Hello, my name is Katherine Dana, and I did my topic on why women should be priests. Now, I honestly think that women and men, at the end of the day, we are just what God made us to be. We're humans in general. Now, no matter what color we are, race, or what we believe in, men and women, we're people. But that's not the point I'm really getting at. I mostly wanted to do this because I am I am a girl, and I feel like I hear these things like how women get paid less than men, but they may be a manager or may work harder than some men, but they still get paid less. And just because we're the opposite sex just means that we get a little bit less, which I think that is absolutely unfair, because at the end of the day, it does matter who worked harder that day. It does matter who made that company bigger or saved that person's life. But when we start to talk about God and how God in the church, we accept all people who come in, but there's nuns and there's choirs and there's all those things that women can do, but then there may be one person that would just love to be a priest, and that that'll be something she's always wanted to do, and she won't have that opportunity because it's not allowed. I just feel like that is unfair, because women, we are people. We have rights to say and do what we want to do. And I just think, like, why would we ever discriminate someone? On the Catholic Church, we don't discriminate someone in the Catholic Church if they're Muslim or black or Mexican or white. We don't discriminate them. That's just not right. Especially when you're in God's church, you just don't do that. But then they don't let women become a priest or anything like that. I just think it's disrespectful, and I just don't understand why people would want to do that. It just it kind of makes me upset, because I just feel like, in years I'll be a grown woman, and what if I want to do something? Let's say I probably won't, but I want to be a priest one day, and I can't do that because I am a female, and only males can do that job. Well, let's say that maybe women could only be priests and men can't. It's just, I feel like if it was opposite, everyone would try to make it so both of them could be. But I feel like people really don't pay attention enough when women want to do something. No one really just opens their eyes and just awakens, like, oh yeah, that's actually, that may work. Or yes, women can do things. They don't just sit around and, cook and just drop their kids off. They can be people in the world. There's several wonderful, great women. Rosa Parks, what did she do? She stood up for what she believed in. There's several people. Clara Barton, what did she do? She wanted to help people, even though she wasn't allowed to during wars in the military. She did. She did what she had to do. There are several people that weren't allowed to do things, or felt like they weren't going to be recognized because of their gender. S.E. Hinton, she was a great author, and she had to make a boy's name for people to read her books, because if they thought a woman would make this book, no one would buy their book. There are people like that in life who try to do things or make them seem like that, because they think that just because they are a female or the opposite sex, that no one will pay attention. And I feel like the Catholic Church does that too. They just feel like, oh, well, it's a woman, they're just like, there's nuns and that's really it. There's more than that. And I've always just felt like, oh, 10 years they've had this. And I felt this, I've known, like, I wanted to know this all through my life, of when I was a little kid. It's like, oh, in a couple years, women can become priest. Well, I was wrong, because it's 2017, and I know people have different beliefs, but I just feel like, it's really the racist and the sexist things, especially the thing that gets me very upset is it's in God's house, and that's when you're supposed to accept people for who they truly are. And I just feel like that's just not what they're doing. So I honestly just feel that we need to open our hearts and our minds and think that woman, we're a person. We can speak up for what we believe in. And I believe that yes, women should especially be accepted into the Catholic Church because they can do that. We can do what we want to do. There are several they back then women couldn't be doctors or lawyers. They made that happen. There's several famous lawyers and woman doctors these days. So I just don't understand why God, the church, most holy people haven't opened up that opportunity to women yet. And I feel like they're just kind of either well, not sexist, but just ignoring us. Like we're really nothing. We're just nuns, and some of us have jobs, and some of us are just these stay-at-home moms who work and clean. And I just feel like it's kind of unfair. Like we're gonna work people too. We may just give birth and have different things, and we may look different and we may do opposite things or not good at sports, but yes, we're women. Yes, we know what we're doing. And I just feel like it's just even though like it's out of the Catholic Church, a lot of people are ignoring that. Like, oh yeah, well she's a woman, she's kind of just made for like that type of stuff to maybe have a job early in their life, have kids, and just kind of that's really it. Just stay at home the rest of their life. I honestly feel like women can do more, and I feel like women can do more, especially in God's church, and they would just have their side and their point of view. And I feel like if that, and maybe hopefully in a couple years, if the church opens us up, I feel like it will just be so nice to hear like a woman priest doing a mass or anything, because I just feel like that women have a voice too, and especially they can preach. They preach. Women protest on the streets. There's nuns. There's teachers in a classroom that preach about God. I just don't understand why they can't do it in a church with several people. It's like, well, there's religion and theology woman teachers. There's several woman people teaching a religious class or not a class. Like, I don't understand why it's such a big deal for, women to not be a part of it. I just honestly feel like just something, my opinion. I know people have all different opinions about this, but this is just my opinion, and I hopefully just feel like women will even, hopefully in the future even more, they will get more accepted in life, and that's just something I hope. And I truly just will be so happy if that ever happens, or they become a priest, or just it feels like any little thing, like, oh, this woman today discovered this, or this woman became known as the world's best. It makes me happy because I just feel like those are my people, Those are just, that's who I am. That's the community. I'm a girl. I'm a female, and I'm feminist. I should stand up for who I am and what gender God made me to be, and that's who I am, and that's why I should appreciate women and all these women in life that, like, several women. There's just so many to name, but I feel like they need to be accepted, and yeah, they've done great things, but we need to open our eyes more and be like, well, if they can do so many things, like there's saints and people like that, miracles, that are woman. I just feel like we can open our eyes and our minds and our hearts to the church, and it will just be a wonderful place.